Starlink, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starships you create. Its endless mission: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where many games have tried before. Who knew that those words spoken many years ago would stick so true to this game? Now I will admit, when Ubisoft first unveiled Starlink, I was very, very skeptical. I did not think it actually had a chance, to be quite honest with you. And with yet another game trying to break into the toy/game marketplace, I thought it was actually doomed to failure. But now, being the sci-fi nerd that I am, I decided to give it a shot. Not only did I have to try it, but I had to do it with the Nintendo Switch because I wanted the Star Fox exclusives. So, to begin, I have to say that, to me, this is what No Man's Sky should have been, or should have at least shot for. It is a very simple concept. You fly through space, explore a ton of new planets, seek out alien life, and fight the ones that are combative. No more, no less. And the game doesn't get lost in trying to do too much. A lot of games nowadays try to do that. They get lost in trying to do too much. There is a lot of content. And from doing side missions for new factions and setting up outposts, the world is actually loaded. But with just enough content that you do not feel overwhelmed at all. Now, the big question I had about the game was, how does the toy aspect of it work? Now, my kids were huge Skylander and Disney Infinity fans, and I still have a ton of those figures lying around, and I didn't want Starlink to kind of be like that, where it's just like it's an afterthought. Now they're just toys that are just kind of cluttering up toy boxes. So I was wondering, how does the Starlink toys work in conjunction with the game, and if it's just kind of like a tacked on gimmick. Now, I still feel that the toys are a little bit gimmicky, but with Starlink, they actually work quite well. You can collect different pilots, weapons, ships, attachments, which are all interchangeable and feature unique abilities depending on what you attach or who you choose to pilot. The different combinations will vary up your attributes as well. Each console comes with a special controlling mount device that will link it up to your game, so there's no portal where you have to put little figures down on it. But now the ship attachment to your controller may feel a bit odd at first, but it will take some getting used to, but it's nothing like groundbreaking. It's nothing like game breaking. The combat's actually very simple and actually works as a positive for the game. Since some games in this genre get too caught up in the combat structures, they actually simplified it to where it's just a 2-weapon system, which you can level and mod up individually. And varying them up between enemies will actually leave many gamers satisfied. The dogfighting functions in 2 ways. When you're inside the planet, you'll be doing a lot of low-bearing dogfights. Whereas when you're in open space, it's a lot more free flight controls. And yes, there is a very, very generous auto-aim system, which could make it pretty easy for some. Now, the ships themselves will vary, and through the many you may collect, they will all feature different abilities. They all fly the exact same way, however, but some are smaller and are easier to kind of get around tight spaces, and the larger ones will be more of like your tanks. They can absorb more damage. The pilots themselves are also upgradable and feature a level up tree that vary from pilot to pilot. And the actual real cool thing about it, which I didn't actually realize it until like I switched up pilots, they actually feature different dialogue scripts to each pilot. So that way you kind of get like a unique feel to each one. So if you're not happy with the pilot you got, you go out and get another pilot from the store, you bring him home, he's going to have different scripts as opposed to the other ones at the house. Now, the game, like many open world games, does suffer from a bunch of repetition. And like Zelda Breath of the Wild, you can actually go straight to the final boss from the very jump. However, killing off the second and third tier bosses will weaken him significantly, making the final boss fight actually pretty easy and kind of a letdown. Now, the repetition may be a downfall for the game, but I do have to admit that they are fun to play in spurts. Not only that, but trying out new ways to take down the larger enemies using the toys and weapons you have make the game that much more satisfying. Especially when you get into the Star Fox 5 mini missions where you're hunting down Wolf, which feels like actually like a true Star Fox game. If they did Star Fox like this, with some minor tweaks, man, the possibilities could actually be endless. I'd be all for it. I'd be happy. Now, there is some visual trade-off, though. The game may look good when in combat and up close, but the draw distance is a bummer. Especially if you're playing on the Switch and in handheld mode. There's a lot of graphic pop-in art assets and some visual lags. Now, the main story is also a little bit of a bummer too. It's kind of generic and actually kind of boring with an unfulfilled plot line. Yeah, I'm using air quotes now, but you go after your captured commander who was captured by a group called the Forgotten Legion, led by Grax. If I'm saying the name incorrectly, I'm sorry. And the bosses are actually not that interesting. And aside from Wolf in the Star Fox missions, it was a complete letdown. But overall, Starlink was actually a fun, open-world game with a ton of content. They've actually seemed to kind of nail down the dogfighting in tight spaces and open spaces very well. And the addition of Star Fox is a huge win for this genre. Unfortunately, the plot held the game back from what is truly could have been, which could have been just minor technical hiccups, puts this at kind of like an average game. Is it worth the money? If you're a Star Fox fan and plan on getting it for Nintendo Switch, absolutely. If you're not into the toy-based games, then you may just kind of want to just leave this on the shelf. Now, there will be kind of like a select audience that like it, like me, and have fun with it, but then there's going to be some that are just kind of done with it. Some will keep continuing playing the game because, like I said, there's a lot of content, and then there's some that are going to be kind of one and done, put it down, and never think about it again. I just wish the story was a bit more fleshed out than it was, but the actual gameplay was fun. I had fun with the story. I had fun with the game. So for that, we gave Starlink a very respectable 7.5 out of 10. It was a good game. It wasn't by any means a fantastic game. Like I said, the Star Fox missions alone boosted this up probably at least 1.5 points, maybe more. But because the Star Fox missions were great. I just kind of wish the whole game kind of had more of that. So that's going to do it for me. I'm KOD X Factor. This is Under Review. And until next time, game on.
I got contacts.